Hey everyone, so let's deep dive into the dashboard of Google Ads. Basically, we'll be looking into what happens in the back end, what different options Google offers us when it comes to Google Ads, and we'll be looking into where all the magic happens. So let's go. So this is what a Google Ads dashboard looks like. So Google Ads URL is usually like this. You need to type in ads.google.com in order to reach a page where it will ask you to sign in. So do remember this URL. It's called ads.google.com. Once you're in it, you'll come onto a page that looks like this, and it'll ask you to sign in or start new. And these are the options that you can use in order to set up your account. How to set up the account, we'll be getting to that topic later, but I'll take you through the account first. Now, towards your left, you will see a lot of, you know, options. Do not get overwhelmed seeing anything in the account. It is very, very interesting, and it's very easy to understand. You'll get used to the whole dashboard as and when you start working on it. But this is how it looks. Now, remember how I told you that, there are certain campaigns that we create, and this is the area where you would create campaigns. Now, if you recall, campaigns are mostly think of them as buckets in which you put in all your ads, the budget, the targeting, and everything. Basically, think of it as a superset, in which you would allocate all these different sets of products or services that you offer. So that's one thing. Within the campaign comes ad groups. Remember, I told you these are tiny folders in which you allocate the subsections of your products. In our example, we took that, in the example that we took, wherein you were having a shoe brand, you would create two different campaigns, one for men's shoes and one for women's shoes, correct? So within that, you would have ad groups. One ad group would be for sportswear, the other would be for party wear, and the one would be casual or, any other footwear. So that's how the segregation goes. Usually based on your service or your products, you create different campaigns. You can even create campaigns based on locations. Even that's something that people follow. Let's say that you're targeting India, you're targeting United States. So you can actually create two separate campaigns, one for India and one for United States. It all depends on what is best for the business at the point of time when you're creating the campaigns. Next comes ad groups. Again, the same sort of segregation. If you have some subsets or some subcategories in your products, let's say that you're having makeup products, then you might actually have different ad groups for skincare. You might have a different ad group for organic skincare, something like that. And then comes the ads. This is what plays a major role in your ad ranking. Now, this is where all the ads are created. You put in all the headlines, you put in a few descriptions. We will get to the part where we understand all the different segments of ads and all the types of ads and everything that goes into making of an ad later on. We have something called as an asset group. We will be getting to this later. This is something similar to an ad group, but basically for a different campaign type. Now, there are different campaigns. If you remember, I told you, we have search ads, we can also have shopping ads, we can have YouTube ads. So there are many different campaign types. I'll be explaining that to you as well. If none of this is easy for you to understand, don't worry. I'm only trying to get you used to these terms so that later on when I talk about it, you would not be blank when I mention asset group or an ad group. Anyway, so an asset group is quite similar to an ad group. I will be getting to this point later, but it is also having the same features as that of an ad group. It's just for a different campaign type. Then we've got experiments. You can conduct a lot of experiments in Google Ads. For example, let's say that you want to test how do users react to your homepage. Homepage is basically just the page that you land on a website. correct? So let's say that we were to go on to this website called um, puppies. Okay, let me just search for a website. Um, let's say puppies grooming something. Awesome. So nope. Let us hop into this website. It looks perfect. Now, we are on mrandmrspet.com. It looks beautiful. And this is the homepage. Basically, the page that you land on as soon as you click on the logo is the homepage. This is where most of the information is, correct? But if you remember, when I searched for it on Google, I actually landed on this page that is dog grooming in my saw. Now, how does it work? On a website, there are usually different pages, correct? And this is one of the page that they were trying to rank on Google search engine. And this can be a landing page, whereas the one that we saw before whereas the one that we saw before was a homepage. Now, if let's say that you want to test how the ads work on the homepage versus this particular landing page, how would you do that? You can do it with the help of experiments. There are a lot more other experiments that you can carry. We will also be getting back to it later. And campaign groups, this is just a campaign segregation type. Basically, let's say that you have multiple campaigns. You can segregate similar campaigns into one particular group. We will also be getting back to it later. And next, I will take you through what is there in all these options. Let's get started with the recommendations first. Recommendations is a way for Google to show you what you can improve in your campaigns. Basically, this is a place where you can hop on, see if Google has any really good recommendation for you when it comes to Google Ads. If you like it, you can click on, you can view it and then apply it. If you don't like it, you can also just dismiss it. Anyway, so most of the times I've found that most of the recommendations that Google suggests is not really useful for the type of campaigns or the type of strategies I'm creating. But many times I do find ideas from here that I can implement. So I advise caution when you work on this section. Next, we have insights and reports. Basically, you create campaigns, correct? You would also want to know how these campaigns are performing. How do you do that? You hop on to insights and reports where you get certain insights about your campaigns, how they're performing, where they're showing up, how they have been trending over the last few months or let's say weeks, or how it has been throughout. We will also be getting deeper into these insights section when we cover this separately. You can also see things like brand report, like how your brand is performing, auction insights. Now remember I told you that Google conducts auctions. This is how it usually looks. It all in all it means that you would be able to see data about how you're performing in the auctions when compared to the other competitors who are also bidding on the same keyword as yours. By bidding on the same keyword, I mean they are paying for the same keyword as yours. Next, we've got search terms. These are terms that usually people search for in Google in order for your ads to show up. Now, remember this. Okay, there are two things. One is a search term, the other is a keyword. A search term is what a user types in. For example, over here, I typed in puppies grooming near me. Now, this is a search term. That means if they were running ads, if Mr. and Mrs. Forgot the name. If Mr. and Mrs. Pet were actually running ads, they would be able to see what I typed in Google search bar for them to show up, and they would be able to see it over here in the search term section. Now, do note that Google does not show you all the search terms. Basically, they used to show it a long time back, but then they have restricted the number of search terms that we can see right now. And then we've got when and where the ad showed. Basically, it shows the timing it showed and what sort of devices and the placement of these ads. We also get to see what sort of locations they were matched to, etc. We've got a lot of other features which are really new. Google basically keeps updating this platform. So if by the time you're seeing this video, the platform has changed or the dashboard has changed a little bit, do not worry. Google keeps on updating it. It's once you're used to the basic dashboard, learning the new one would not be difficult. Then we've got report editor. Report editor is, I'm sorry, I missed out on the landing page. Landing page are the pages that your ads are redirecting to at the moment. Basically, if you want to see what landing pages my ads are using, you can hop onto landing pages. Then you've got report editor. This is a really nice template reporting that Google has given us. You can see the campaign performance, the ad group type, and basically everything about how your campaign is performing you can see in the report editor. Dashboard is nothing but a compilation of everything. And we have covered campaigns, ad groups, ads, and everything up to campaign groups. So you know what Google is offering us over here. There's something called as assets. Now, remember I told you previously that when it comes to creating a campaign, we have campaign under which we have ad groups. We also have in the ad groups, we have ads, we have keywords, and also assets. So these are the assets that I was talking about. Basically, Google allows us to show all these different extensions, I can say, to ads. Like you can add link to different pages on your website to your ad. You can also add a link to the phone number on your ad. You can do multiple such things, and all of it comes under assets. We will be looking at all the different types of assets that can be used. You can also add videos. And then come products. Basically, products are let's say that you are an e-commerce business. So you're selling a few products. You can take a look at them over here. Diagnostics helps you understand if there is any problem with any of the product over here. Basically, Google has really strict policies when it comes to advertising. You cannot simply advertise any product on Google. Many medical-based products, for example, have a lot of restrictions. And in that case, there is a huge chance that Google simply disapproves your ad or your product altogether. And all of that information you will be able to see in this diagnostic center. Next comes product promotions. Let's say that you're running a few promotions. You can take a look at it there. Up next, we've got audiences, keywords, and content. You now know what keywords are, correct? These are basically the terms that user may search on Google that we can use in our campaigns. For example, now if Mr. and Mrs. Pet.com wanted to run Google ads, they would run puppies grooming near me as a keyword. They would have it in their keyword section over here, correct? And they would also have multiple other keywords like dog grooming services near me, if they do dog daycare, then they can also have daycare near me. And that also means that they can have all these different campaigns or ad groups. Okay, so let me take a step back and help you understand how Mr. and Mrs. Pet.com might actually create a campaign. So they might have separate campaigns, one for dog, one for cat, another for small pets, correct? And within the dog campaign, they might even have a dog adoption ad group. They can have a dog hostel ad group, a dog grooming, walking. Dog walking is a huge thing. Dog transportation, insurance, training, and mating. Now, all of these are really huge services, so they might create different ad groups for it. They might also create different campaigns based on breeds, correct? So there are a lot more opportunities. Like I said, creating campaigns and ad groups is completely dependent on what services the advertiser wants to offer. Anyway, back to our keywords. So you now know what sort of keywords, what are keywords and how we usually target them. I will be deep diving into it later because it's a very huge topic and we need to understand what sort of keywords are right for any type of business. We also have audiences. Let's say that there are certain set of audiences that you would like to target. For example, business owners. If you are a B2B business and you want to target business owners, you can do that in the audience section. Locations. Now, obviously, you don't want to show your ads to everybody, correct? Now, example, let's say that Mr. and Mrs. Pet were restricted to providing services all over India, that means that their services would be restricted to India only. They would not be advertising anywhere else outside India. And all of that location targeting can be done here. You can also see where your campaigns are showing up over here. And then comes content. We will be jumping into all this later. There's something called as ad schedule. Let's say that Mr. and Mrs. Pet are available only from morning 8 to evening 8. They can let Google know that, hey, show our ads only during this time. We've got something called as dynamic ad target and advanced bid adjustment. If I deep dive into this now, you will only get confused. So let us keep this section later on. Yeah. Next, we've got change history. Basically, all the changes made within the account can be, all the changes made in the account can be viewed over here. This is more like a log of all the changes that are made within the account, and it looks something like this. It shows the email address and the exact time a particular change was made and what the change was exactly. Now we'll move on to the next section. If you see on the extreme left, there's something called as campaigns, goals, tools, billing, and admin. We'll be going deep into all these topics now. For now, till now, you've understood everything that comes in the campaigns dashboard, correct? You know every segment or every section that Google is offering you right now. We will also be looking into what goals are. Awesome. Now, in goals, every advertiser has a certain goal in mind, correct? For example, Mr. and Mrs. Pet, they would be having a goal of getting a lead. That means basically they would want someone to call them or submit a form, correct? And that is usually the end goal of a user or anyone advertising on Google. Now, how do you make Google understand that this is my goal? How do you make Google understand that my ultimate goal is to get people to call me? And that's where the goals come into picture. This is where you create something called as conversion actions. What are conversion actions? Now, getting a user to convert on your website is huge. That's ultimately what every advertiser wants. What do I mean by converting? Converting or a conversion action is basically any action that a user would take on a website in order for you to benefit from it. For example, in this case, Mr. and Mrs. Pet would benefit if a user called them or filled out a form or basically created an account. Basically, any way in which they would reach out and get a lead from that customer, they would benefit, correct? So if they were advertising on Google, their conversion action would be a phone call, correct? It might also be a contact form that they fill up. It can also be get directions if they were having an offline store. So now that you know what a conversion action is, I will also be taking you into what are the different types of conversion action. Let's say they were selling certain products, correct? Then purchasing the product would also be a conversion action. So there are many different types of conversion actions. I will be taking you through it in detail later on. For now, let's look into the option or the dashboard. There's also something called as value rules. I will be taking you into it later. This has something to do with the shopping ads that we create. I'll be taking you through it later on. We've got something called as custom variables. Again, a topic for later. We've got something called as settings. Now, these are settings for these conversion actions. Let's say you want to make any changes in the way the conversion actions are set. You can always hop on to this. We've got uploads. Again, a complex topic. Let's say that you were to upload an offline conversion action. That means a person just looked up your store, came to your site and converted over there. That means took an action over there in your offline store. How do you let Google know? You basically upload a conversion action over here. Again, a complex topic which will be covered later on. something called as measurement, attribution, and cross-media reach. Again, very complex. But the goal of this video is to make you understand what is there in the dashboard, and I think you have got a pretty good idea of what it is. You know what is there in the campaigns, you know what's there in the goals. Goals is where you create conversion actions, and all of these are complex other topics which will be covered later on. Then we've got something called as tools. Google has been providing a lot of tools for us in order to advertise better. Like, for example, if you see this Asset Studio, this is where you can create high quality images that you can use in your ads. I think they have, they have also started videos. So you can basically create videos, you can trim, you can add voiceovers, and all of this can be a part of your ads. Up until now, you could not do all this, but now they have given you a lot more features. Then comes planning. You can basically search for what keywords would be best, and to do that, so how do you usually know what keywords would be best? How would Mr. and Mrs. Pet know what are the exact keywords that people type in? There are many strategies that we use. I will be taking you through that later, but one of it is the keyword planner tool, where you plan all the keywords that you will be using in your campaign. Next, we have performance planner. Let's say that you want to plan how your campaign would perform if you made a particular change in the campaign. How would you do that? It happens through a performance planner. Very high, intense and very complex topic, which will be covered much later in our course. We've got something called as Reach Planner. Again, something similar to Performance Planner, but slightly different. We've got App Advertising Hub. Let's say that you're advertising for an app. That means you want people to download a particular app or do something which you are particularly interested in with related to the app. That's when you create app campaigns, and this is the App Advertising Hub, which will be used during app advertising. We also have something called a shared library. Basically, every audience that you create, let's say that you want to target people who have come onto the website but did not convert. That means they did not take an action. You can also target such users in your audience manager. Basically, create an audience, go to audience manager, create an audience there, and let a campaign know that, hey, target this user because I want my ads only to show up to people who have been on my site but did not convert. Now, basically, you can give them offers. Hey, we know you came to our, we know that you came to our website before. We're offering 20% discount now. Would you be interested? A message of such sort can be conveyed, and all of those audiences are managed over here. We will be deep diving into this later because it's a completely different topic. Exclusion list. Let's say that, okay, so this is a good topic which will be covered during keywords as well. But now in this case, let's say that Mr. and Mrs. Pet is running a campaign and they do not sell any pets. They strongly believe in adoption. So so basically their aim would be to only have keywords like pet adoption, cat adoption, dog adoption, correct? They do not sell. Then what would be the kind of keywords that they want to avoid? They would want to avoid keywords around buy a pet near me, let's say buy a Labrador. Now, what happens is these keywords, let's say that if their website shows up in Google search for a keyword like buy a pet, and a person lands onto their website and they don't see any buying service over here, then obviously it's going to be a waste. I'm just going to click back, correct? Now that means that the budget would be wasted for Mr. and Mrs. Pet. Why? Because you are paying for every click. Remember, that means that click which went back would be budget waste. Now, that such sort of keywords which you do not want to target usually go into the negative list or the exclusion list. We will be deep diving into it later. We'll understand what sort of keywords you would want to avoid. We've got something called as brand list. Basically, you can list out your brands that you want to exclude or include into it later. There's something called as location manager, create a partnership All of this will be covered at a later stage. We have something called as a data manager. Now, if you remember, I said in the previous video that there are many tools that go into the making of Google Ads. What are those tools? I'll list them out for now, but you don't have to worry because these tools are something that would be covered way in depth in later videos. So there's something called as Google Analytics or GA4. This is a very important tool that we as advertisers use. There's also something called as Google Business Profile, Google Merchant Center. There's also something called as Google Tag Manager. Now, all of this will be covered later. Let's say that you're using third-party platforms like Zoho. All of that can also be integrated over here within your Google Ads account. Next comes troubleshooting. Now, obviously, your ads can run into a lot of troubles because of Google's strict policy issues. How do you work on that? You work on that by going to Ad Policy Manager. You can also run preview diagnostics. Basically, if you want to see how your ads are appearing, you can just simply go to the preview tool. There's something called as bulk actions. Let's say you want to automate certain action on Google Ads. You can do that. Let's say that you want to tell Google to reduce a particular budget during a particular time. If the click is coming from this particular location, you can do that. You can set rules for Google to do such actions. There's also something called as budgets and bidding. I will be getting into it later because you will only get confused if this is covered now. And then there's business data and labs, which again is not really important right now. And then comes billing, very important part. Let us say that you do make a Google Ads account and you want to make sure that the account is running properly. You would have to add your billing details to the account. That is only when you get to run Google Ads, correct? How do you make sure that you're getting charged correctly? It is through this billing profile. Basically, when you create an account, Google prompts you to add your billing details, which would be added over here in the payment methods. And after that, you would be able to view the summary of every single charge that Google makes on your card. And all of this is present over here. Next, we've got admin. Let's say you want to gain access to particular account. You can you can get access through this section over here. Any account settings that you want to change, any preferences or the notification settings, all of it can be changed over here. So now you know how a dashboard looks like. I understand it can be very, very, very overwhelming at first, but do not worry. If you are used to all these terms, I will be taking you through the meaning of all of these terms in the next video. Along with this, there is also something called as metrics. Because let's say that you were running an ad on Google, you would want to know how many times it showed up. Mr. and Mrs. Pet would want to know how many times it showed up for in their Google search page. They would want to know at what rank they were when it showed up. If were they on the first page, were they at the very top, or were they somewhere on the second page? They would want to know such things. They would want to know how many people clicked on their ad. They would want to know how many people ended up converting, and how much it actually costed them to get a new user to convert on their site. You see, all of these things that I talked about are a part of analytics, and all of these metrics. So there are a lot of metrics that go into Google Ads, and I will be covering each and every metric in the next video.